irrigation system. In this smart irrigation system, to demonstrate, we used 5 design patterns. I will go through for the design 4 patterns at a quick overview. So the first design pattern we used is an observer design pattern. We used the observer design pattern to notify the schedule changes to the subscribers. In this sense, the scheduler is the publisher. The scheduler class gets the schedule from the CNN model, and the CNN model predicts the schedule based on the data it gets from the sensor classes. The sensor classes data are adapted by our adapter pattern. So here we have a sensor. This interface, the sensor data should have a read. The sensor should have a read method and returns the sensor data. We have a soil moisture sensor and a temperature sensor. Both gets the sensor data like from the corresponding sensors and returns their data. So we have like a temperature and a moisture. Both are sensor data and returns the sensor data. We have a sensor adapter like that adapts the sensor data to the sensor reading type. We get a sensor in our constructor and return the adapted readings when the get reading is called. We have the data collector class that collects all the data, so it gets the data from the sensor adapter class after it's being adapted. So in this case, the service is the sensors, the adapter, and the adaptee is the data collector. We also have a data processor class that should process the data before we feed it to our CNN class. So our CNN class gets the processed data and returns the predictor schedule. We have a predict method and it returns the predict schedule. We implemented a Momento pattern for our scheduler class. So irrigation scheduler class gets the schedule from our CNN after it calls the predict method. And it saves like the state in the scheduler Momento saves that returns the state. We also have the scheduler Momento caretaker. The caretaker like saves the Momento in a list, or it can be a hash map. So the publisher inserts subscriber, and whenever the scheduler is set a new state, it notifies. The notify method iterates over the subscriber and returns calls the update method on the subscribers. And it also saves to state to Momento. It returns the scheduler Momento. When we call restore and we pass the Momento class, it returns the state that has been saved recently, or the latest saved state from our Momento. Our irrigation controller class is also a subscriber. It gets the updated schedule through the update method. Whenever the scheduler calls the update method, it compares the new schedule with the current date, and if it matches, it calls start. We also have a start and stop methods that we call here. We can also manually, it will allow us to not, on top of automatic control, it will also allow us to manually control the irrigations. Our mobile interface is a composite. We follow the composite pattern. All components that are implementing this interface should have a display method in them. We have a scheduler display. It's also a subscriber and mobile interface component. It is communicating with two component patterns. Whenever it's updates, it updates the schedule. The display class it checks the schedule and returns the schedule. Okay, and we have the weather display. It gets the data from the data collector, the adapted data, and it shows the moisture level, the temperature level, and the system status display show us the status from the irrigation controller class, because irrigation controller class have a display state method that we can call. So we call the display state method. We have a manual controller class so that we can manually control. For example, in this use case, a user can click on stop, can click on start, or restore to previous. So based on the users clicks start, for example, or stop, we call controller stop. This is the manual control. Starts, we call controller start. Whenever we click restore, we call the irrigation scheduler class restore method and pass the caretaker get method. The get method returns the momento, and we pass the momento class to the irrigation scheduler restore method. So our mobile interface is a composite. So it has add interface method that adds the components into a list. So whenever we call the display on the list, it will call the display method of all the other components in the composite. Our irrigation system is built based on using builder pattern. We have irrigation system interface. We can set each components, and it also have a run method. When we call run, it adds everything. It adds the composite. It also adds the momento and everything, and calls the run. We have irrigation system builder interface. It built the irrigation system hierarchically. For this case, we have smart irrigation system, which is a type of irrigation system. So the smart irrigation system, in a sense, is a director now. So it takes the smart irrigation system builder interface and gets the irrigation system. It also builds irrigation system. So in our main, we only need the smart irrigation builder and smart irrigation system because we're building smart irrigation. The smart irrigation builder, we pass the smart irrigation builder to our smart irrigation system, and we call build irrigation system, and then we get the irrigation system by calling smart irrigation system, call get irrigation system, and we run system run. So now let's run our application. And see the high level overview of the use cases. Let's build. So these are the high level overview of our use cases. We have schedule display as a calendar. It says Monday this hour, Tuesday this hour. We'll see the soil moisture level, and we see the temperature data or temperature level that we get from each respective sensor. We have the system status. It says today, Monday, 8 a.m. or 0 a.m. So the system is not running because Monday at 6 shouldn't be running. We have a menu to stop, start, or restart to previous. For example, if I click on start, it's showing me the system is running. Now, if I go back, the status shows the system is running because it should be updated based on that. I can also click stop, and it showed me the system is not running, and the system is not running indeed. We can also restore to previous schedule, but in this case, we don't have any previous schedule, so it doesn't restore anything. So basically, this is our high level implementation. Thank you for following.